Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Dose. I am so honored that you are here. If you're somebody who's watching on Facebook, would you do me a favor and would you just click the share button and then share this to all your friends so that they can hear the same message that you are? If you're watching this on YouTube, would you click subscribe? And if you're watching this on cable access, I want to invite you to invite a friend to watch with you tomorrow. Tonight, I thought I'd talk a little bit about an obscure but really great little book in the Bible in the Old Testament. This book is called Esther. And Esther is one of the last books that were written in the Old Testament. It was written about 2,000 years ago. And it's one of those stories that Christians just don't seem to always know what to do with. And Esther is not really mentioned anywhere else in the Bible. It's just like this little 10-chapter story just stuck in almost accidentally. But I think that it has something for us to say and in our context today. So I'm going to tell you the story. The story starts in the hall of King Xerxes, and he has been the king for 3 years. And he throws this awesome party for what the Bible says is 180 days. Now, King Xerxes is not like any other king at the time. He is powerful and he is wealthy beyond belief. And his rule is over a large territory. It basically stretches from Sudan to Pakistan to Greece. And here's the thing about Xerxes. He didn't earn his power. It was given to him by his father Darius, who actually did all the conquering and did all the stuff. So Xerxes, he's basically just a spoiled kid. Now, we can say it together. Xerxes is a jerkses, and he is this big jerk, and he is flaunting it at this party. And this is what the Bible says about the party. It says, there were couches of gold and silver on a mosaic pavement of marble, mother of pearl and colored stones. Drinks were served in golden goblets, goblets of different kinds, and royal wine was lavished according to the bounty of the king. Everyone was drinking by the flagons and without restraint, for the king had given orders to all the officials of his palace to do as everyone themselves desired. I mean, it's this huge 180-day party, and it's the law that says everyone gets to do whatever they want. I mean, it would have given Woodstock or Burning Man a run for its money. So it's this huge party, and Xerxes, after this party in the Bible, it says he's merry with wine, but let's be honest, he was schnockered. And he summons his wife, Vashti, and she's like, nope, I am not going to go talk to him tonight. So then King Xerxes, this makes him super mad, so he decides to take away her queenship and find himself a new queen, and which I think Vashti probably felt relief. So in order to find this new queen, he gets his advisors, and he basically starts a beauty pageant. Now enters Esther. She's an orphan and her parents have died, and she is raised by her cousin Mordecai, and she's likely in her teenage years, and she is beautiful. But she's forced to be in this beauty pageant, this select a new queen thing that King Xerxes is doing. And Mordecai, her cousin, he warns her before she's taken to the king's house not to let them know that she is a Jew. It's kind of like a Bible version of The Bachelor. Beautiful women being introduced into the eligible, new, and supremely wealthy king. And women are lined up over the course of a year, brought in to King Xerxes. And guess what? Dramatic story. Esther is chosen by the jerk king to become the new queen. Now, for us, this might seem like she just won The Bachelor, but it's really not all that great. You see, Esther is young, and she is a total victim in all of this. She is led with, like the other women, into like cattle into the house of this terrible king. But then since she's chosen, she gets stuck there. So story fast forward, King Xerxes has this advisor named Haman. Now, Haman personally hates Esther's cousin Mordecai, so he convinces the drunk king to kill and annihilate all the Jews. And so the message gets out, and Mordecai encourages Esther to save their people and to go out and talk to the king about this edict. And this is terrifying for Esther. So Esther, she commits herself to prayer and fasting. She doesn't know if she can do anything to change this plot from Haman to kill all her people. If she speaks up, which she is not permitted to do because she's a woman, but even more because she's a Jew, it's a guaranteed death sentence. But then if she doesn't speak up, then all of the Jews and all of the land will be killed. And so she's really stuck between this rock and this hard place. So she prays and she asks her cousin to get all the Jews to pray as well. And through this prayer, Esther devises a plan. She decides that she's going to invite both her husband, the king, and Haman to a feast that she herself will prepare. And at this feast, the king is impressed with his queen. And in another drunken state, in Esther chapter 7, he says, "What is your petition, Queen Esther? It shall be granted to you. What is your request? Even if you ask for half my kingdom, I will give it to you." Here is her moment, the moment for Queen Esther to ask for her life and for the life of the Jews. But then fear overcomes her, and she blurts out, "Tomorrow. Maybe you and Haman can come again for another banquet tomorrow." Have any of you ever done this? Where you wanted to ask something of someone, but then fear snuck in and stole the words? Maybe you wanted to speak up for injustice, but the fear of being persecuted or labeled got in the way. Or maybe you wanted to advocate for what you think is right, but your opinionated uncle, he's just going to shoot you down. Or maybe you tried to advocate for yourself to get a raise, but the words just escaped your mouth. Or maybe you wanted to tell someone that you love them, but you just couldn't get it. Fear, it gets us, and it got Esther that night. So she tries again. She tries again the next night. Haman and King Xerxes, they come to the banquet. They're eating and drinking again, and the king asks her what she wants again. And Esther gets up, and she finally has the courage to say, "If I have won your favor, O king, and if it pleases you, let my life be given to me, because this is what I'm asking. I ask you to give the lives of my people. That is my request. For we have been sold, and I and my people, to be destroyed, to be killed and annihilated. We have been sold merely as slaves, men and women. I would have held my peace, but no enemy can compensate for what this damage has done to the king." And then King Xerxes says to Queen Esther, says, "Who is he? Who is the person that has said that they are going to do this?" And Esther said, "Haman." Dun, dun, dun. Wow, the drama. It's like the Jerky Bachelor and Game of Thrones all wrapped up into one 10-chapter book in the Bible. And after this, Haman is hanged and the Feast of Purim is inaugurated. Bible drama. So, all right, let's unpack this a little bit more. Let's look at what society expected of Esther. Not really that much. Mordecai told her to keep quiet about her faith and not to tell anyone about it, up until the point she's a victim. She is a victim, and she is shushed by all the people around her. And they're wrapped up in her looks and her being appeasing to the men that are in the world around her. The whole culture and the king just expected her to submit, to sit still and look pretty. But somehow, in all of this, Esther, anyway, she finds her voice. God gives her the courage to speak up and to advocate for herself and to advocate for her cousin Mordecai and to advocate for her people, and she saves them all. When I was pregnant with my oldest son, Chase, I just did what everyone told me to do. I followed all of my doctor's orders, and yet I found out years later that he really wasn't a good doctor. And I knew in my gut that this wasn't okay, that the pain that I was suffering was just extreme, that it was too much. But for some reason, I lost my words. I didn't advocate for myself in that hospital room. I didn't know what to do. And I think that this is really honest, and I think that this can happen. We lose our voice. We experience trauma or victimhood or abuse or expectation or perfectionism or injustice, or we have fear, and just all these things, they seem to wrap themselves around our throat and make our breath strained and to take away our words, and we want to cry out, but sometimes it just gets stuck. I think it's in this understanding of Esther that we can learn that God turns things upside down, that God does things a different way. God chooses this poor teenager, Esther, to save God's people. God chooses the silent to say the brave truth. God chooses Esther, and she could have kept her faith a secret. She could have just not acknowledged that she was one of the Jews that Haman wanted to kill, and she could have just kept her head down and her mouth shut and protected her own life and the life of others. And we do that sometimes too. We look the other way at suffering, or we look the other way at injustice, and we think we don't maybe want to get involved. Or sometimes we have our own positions of power and we don't use them to change the lives of other people. Or worse yet, maybe we're like Esther and we realize we don't think we have any power. But friends, you do have the power to advocate. Even if you're afraid, even if you're against expectations, even if you're unsure about how it will turn out, you have power. You have power because you, like Esther, you have God. You see, God is our advocate. God is our support system. God is our words and our defender. And here's the good news. God does God's perfect work through imperfect people, through people like you and through people like Esther. Amen.
I believe in the sun. I believe in the risen one. I believe I overcome by the power of his blood. Amen. Amen. I'm alive because he lives. Amen. Amen. Let my song join the one that never ends, because he lives. Because he lives. I was dead in the grave. I was covered in sin and shame. I heard mercy call my name. He rolled the stone away. Amen. Amen. I'm alive because he lives. Amen. Amen. Let my song join the one that never ends, because he lives. I can face tomorrow, because he lives. Every fear is gone. I know he holds my life, my future in his hand. Amen. Amen. I'm alive because he